news, go to willheightwins.com.
That's willheightwins.com.
Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Here is, I'm going to play for you the Fox News report from Brooke Taylor in Dallas. This came out just yesterday. She reports about Tren De Aragua doing a quote, Texas woman robbed, pistol whipped in ritzy Dallas area by illegal Venezuelan migrants with gang ties. We're looking at TDA members is what they believe. Listen to Brooke Taylor's report on the mid-morning show on Fox News.
Bill, the details in this case, let me tell you, are just horrifying. This woman says she was held at gunpoint inside of her own home by these four guys. She says they tied her up, they threatened to cut her fingers off and beat her with a pistol. We now know that these four men who were charged are illegal migrants from Venezuela. This woman lives alone. She's in her 50s, just pulled in her garage in the upscale Briarwood neighborhood of Dallas. Police say the four suspects approached her, forced her inside at gunpoint, ransacked her home, stole money and jewelry. According to police records, the suspects only spoke Spanish and communicated through Google Translate. Luckily, police say she was not hurt. When they left, she managed to free herself, ran to a neighbor's home and called 911. Police matched a fingerprint to one of the suspects, Manuel Hernandez, who named the others involved. All four charged with aggravated robbery and have ICE detainers. ICE tells Fox News that all four are from Venezuela, and according to records, Hernandez told investigators they're involved in a criminal street gang. Now, ICE would only give me the immigration history of Manuel Hernandez, and it's worth noting because in March he illegally entered the U.S. from El Paso, and he has been arrested at least twice before this. Just months after illegally coming into the U.S., he pled guilty to a DWI. Despite the conviction, he was released right back into the U.S.
It was very concerning because it's a nice part of Dallas and a quiet part. We welcome people who are not who come here legally, but people who are not here illegal or are not coming in legally, we have to wonder about why they were able to get here in the first place and this far north.
And meanwhile, over in San Antonio, authorities cracking down on the Venezuelan street gang Tren De Aragua. Multiple agencies going door to door raiding the Palacia apartment complex after reports of drug and human trafficking. 16 Venezuelans there arrested, and HSI identified 4 as TDA members. Now, the aggravated robbery back here live in Dallas has neighbors really concerned. A lot of them tell me that's put them on high alert because the scary part, they say, is this is a reminder that it could happen to anyone, anywhere.
There you go, guys. Fox News reporting the truth. Kamala and Joe unleashed Tren De Aragua in San Antonio, in North Dallas, in a $880,000 house neighborhood, Bluffview in Dallas. San Antonio chief of police says Tren De Aragua, the authorities are coming for you. Multiple members arrested, as you heard Saturday, after they raided a vacant apartment complex like in Aurora, Colorado, after receiving multiple complaints about narcotics, human trafficking, and threats. Chief McManus says we had information that members of the transnational gang Tren De Aragua were in control of the area and committing various crimes. Wow, they had to clear 300 vacant apartments. Meanwhile, in El Paso, Estefania Primera, known as La Barbie, the leader of Tren De Aragua's sex trafficking ring, was operating in the since-shuttered Gateway Hotel in El Paso. She crossed the border illegally with family members near El Paso in August of 2023, quickly released by Joe and Kamala into the U.S. She told Border Patrol agents she was bound for Illinois, placed her under the supervision of ICE. on her electronic monitoring ankle bracelet. Weeks within her release, she ditched the ankle bracelet. One of her victims told cops she drugged them multiple times with a pill containing fentanyl to force the victim into prostitution while beating her for trying to get away from her enslavement. She's been using her little kids as drug mules. So that's it. There she is. It's on my Twitter feed. La Barbie, a sick, wicked, disgusting, violent sex trafficker in El Paso that Joe and Kamala let in. Sick Tren De Aragua violent criminals in San Antonio that Joe and Kamala let in. Sick, violent. Do you know what they also did? The woman in North Dallas, they threatened to cut all of her fingers off. Give us everything in your house, or we're going to cut your fingers off. They tied her up, a woman in an $880,000 house in Bluffview, Dallas, in North Texas. That's coming for your neighborhood. They also have released, Kamala and Joe released Tren De Aragua in Houston. Gang members, Venezuelan TDA gang members arrested in Houston, allegedly in Houston and San Antonio, says the Dallas Morning News. And we have Anti-Houston Gang Center was notified of a suspected Tren De Aragua member living in Houston. This 32-year-old was wanted out of Pearland for theft. And they confirmed that he's a Tren De Aragua member and was booked into Brazoria County Jail. And he's got the TDA markings all over his body. So, guys, they're all over our state. They're cockroaches. They're rats. They're satanic, sick, wicked beasts. And Joe and Kamala let him in tens of thousands, according to our expert, who was the head of the border operations and counterterrorism and border and counterintelligence for DPS, Jason Jones, now with Newsmax as a border correspondent. The Biden-Harris team was flagged also. They allowed in a couple 100,000 Afghanis. Many of them are terrorists, and including this guy, 27-year-old, who Joe and Kamala, they waved him into the U.S. as part of the, quote, widely criticized Operation Allies Refuge. He was charged in federal court with plotting an election day terror attack in support of ISIS. Joe and Kamala brought this guy in. Kamala was the last person in the room. She said, these people are awesome. They did great. Joe said, I did nothing wrong. I'm proud of it. And I fear this is the only tip of the iceberg. This case is Ron Johnson, a member of the ranking Senate Homeland Security Committee and ranking Republican on the permanent subcommittee. Biden-Harris administration playing with fire. It's only a matter of time before terrorists succeeded. So I'm asking you some questions now on this, because this is unbelievable, but it's what Joe and Kamala have done to our country. Do you think Kamala and Joe's immigration policies have made you less safe? How worried are you about their illegals hurting you and your loved ones? You should be very worried. Again, I ask, do you think Kamala and Joe's immigration policies have made you less safe? And how worried are you about their illegals hurting you and your loved ones? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I remind you, the Tren De Aragua gangbangers who went into the North Dallas neighborhood. They, by the way, one of them was crossing the U.S. illegally through El Paso in March. He was arrested twice, at least before this, including DWI. But despite the conviction, he was released back into the community to make sure he can kill us. And in this case, he raided a woman's home in North Dallas, and he tied her up, pistol whipped her, and robbed her at gunpoint. Around 10 p.m., she returned from dinner home to her Bluffview neighborhood, Dallas, where her home is average home is $880,000. They targeted her in her driveway, forcing her into her home, tying her up while pointing guns at her head. They allegedly hit her in the face with a gun and in the head with a gun, and threatened to cut off her fingers. Hit her in the head, and they threatened to cut off her fingers. They stole $75,000 worth of jewelry, a Gucci purse, a Ferragamo handbag, a Judith Lieber handbag, the victim's phone and coins, and a wooden box. So that's Tren De Aragua. Be prepared for somebody to go at you on your driveway, put you at gunpoint, tie you up, threaten to cut your fingers off and kill you if you don't give them everything, especially if you have a house worth some money. I got a friend some friends who live in a neighborhood like this in North Dallas, and I'm going to forward the story to them. I don't want to scare them, but I just want to make sure they keep their eyes open, because their neighborhood's a clear target as well. That's the question. Do you think Kamala and Joe's immigration policies have made you less safe, and how worried are you about their illegals hurting you and your loved ones? 800-288-WBAP. Lines wide open. Chime in right now at 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I've got more on this for you. I'm going to give you more details on the terrorist who Joe and Kamala let in from Afghanistan. I also want to tell you on just how bad the illegal invasion has been for Pennsylvania, small town in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, in small town Whitewater, Wisconsin, and in small town Greeley, Colorado. I'll give you a quick description of that coming up next on how bad things are on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. The one thing you're not being reminded about is gotaways, how much higher they are under Biden-Harris. That's coming up next as well in 3 minutes at 10:18 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Here is former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice saying the quiet part out loud on Fox News. I believe this was this morning. Here we go.
We actually had on-the-ground intelligence in a way that we don't now, and I worried a great deal that our withdrawal from Afghanistan might actually increase the terrorist threat. It's also the case that withdrawal was so chaotic that I'm not surprised that some people got through on visas who probably shouldn't have.
Okay, that's our former Secretary of State Condi Rice. Here is the report from Just the News. Biden-Harris team flagged for weak vetting of Afghan refugees. Now one is charged in a terror plot. Nasir Ahmad Tawhidi, arrested by the FBI Monday and charged with multiple crimes, including conspiring and attempting to provide material support to ISIS. Unfortunately, our calls for transparency regarding the inadequate vetting and screening following the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan continue to go unanswered, and here most Americans are almost paid the price. Homeland Security Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green says, talking about this guy arrested for terrorism. He was going to shoot up large groups of people on Election Day in an ISIS terror plot. Biden and Harris must Green continued to say, Biden and Harris must reverse course on their misguided policies and put safety and security of the American people first. Added the great Senator Chuck Grassley on Twitter today. You see why vetting and oversight is so important? ? Grassley wrote a prophetic letter in July to the FBI. Quote, at least 50 Afghan evacuees paroled into the United States were flagged by the FBI for National Ground Intelligence Center as potentially significant security concerns, Grassley wrote to FBI Director Chris Wray in July. Here we are, 4 months later, 5 months later, and we have it. Tawhidi, the terrorist, accused terrorist, and this is in Oklahoma City. Hey, maybe he would have come down here to slaughter us, huh? You excited about that? Yeah. Allahu Akbar! Joe Biden! Kamala Harris! I kill you! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Vote for Kamala! I'm going to continue with this, but I want to ask you some questions and have you chime in right now. Phone lines wide open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Do you think Kamala and Joe's immigration policies have made you less safe? How worried are you about their illegals hurting you and your loved ones? Continuing on, Tawhidi, the alleged terrorist, has been here since 2021 after granted special parole by Kamala and Joe to enter the country during Operation Allies Refuge following the U.S. after Afghanistan withdrawal. He attempted to purchase semi-automatic firearms. And ammunition in order to carry out the attack, and even had plans to resettle his family overseas ahead of the November 5th attack. At least one co-conspirator is a minor. I'm sure one of the Afghan illegal minors that they brought in and just dumped on us. Allegedly, Google He had allegedly Googled how to access Washington, D.C. cameras. Which U.S. state does not require relations to get a firearm? He planned to target, quote, large gatherings of people on Election Day that both him and the undisclosed minor expected to be martyred died and died during the attack. This is probably an 18 or 16-year-old Afghanistan cousin or friend of his that's also one of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris's terrorists that they brought in. Inspector General reports that over 79,000 Afghan refugees in the U.S. between July 21 and January 22 in a 6-7 month period. The report also claimed Customs and Border Protection paroled evacuees into the U.S. who were not fully vetted, including dozens with known derogatory information. Mark Green, the chairman, said it's only a matter of time before one of these individuals connected to a terrorist group is involved in something devastating on U.S. soil, and this administration will be responsible, he said in June, before this happened just now. How much longer will we let this madness continue? Representative Glenn Grotham from Wisconsin, Republican from the House Oversight Subcommittee on Border Security, told Just the News, Americans need to understand the risks extend far beyond the Afghan refugee program because Biden-Harris administration has let in millions of other illegal aliens onto the country with similar inadequate vetting. The Tawhidi case is alarming, but not at all surprising. You have countries with high numbers of American-hating extremists sending tens of thousands of people here. What do you expect? I think we will have a lot more of this in the future. And by the way, Bill Malugin, Fox News, wanted you to know that Harris never answers the question about why they waited 3 years to stop the invasion. Reminder that all those record-setting numbers, they don't include 2 million known gotaways. Those are rapists, terrorists. They're 3 times combined. Over those 3.5 years, they were higher than the prior decade of Trump and Obama. Listen to that. The gotaways were 3 times higher than 10 years of Obama and Trump. You understand that? There were days on 2022 and 2023 where 2,000 gotaways were being recorded every day, 2,000, while at the same time the administration was falsely labeling the border was closed and secure. They're liars and they're murdering us and slaughtering us, and they chose to do this to us, and they must pay at the voting booth. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show at News Talk 820 WBAP, Biden and Harris speaking to Netanyahu about their Israel's retaliation against Iran. Do you think Kamala and Joe are right? Is it time for a ceasefire, or should Israel do what they want to and not listen to Kamala and Joe, as I say? That is next on the Chris Crock Show at 10:33 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I want you to make that a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, we have quite a lot of updates for you on Israel, and they have not struck yet. Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. And today, Biden and Harris spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, who has surged in the polls. He was dead man walking in the polls about 6 months to a year ago. But his wild success and his big gambles and huge successes, his big risks and huge successes, a leader has to take risks, and they will fail or succeed based on taking wise risks. Or risks, whether they're wise or not. And I'm going to tell you right now, he has wildly succeeded in crushing the entire leadership of Hamas. He killed their head, Hassan Nasrallah, the head of the snake. And the man who immediately replaced him was also killed, within a few days. And then the funniest thing in the world is, most of the members of, I think it's called the Shura Council, which literally picks who the next leader of Hezbollah is, almost all of them are dead. So, they can't even pick a new leader because the leader died. A few days later, the next one that took over for him died, and most of the members of the council that picked the new leader of Hezbollah are dead. They're crushed. Now, they're not done. but they're horribly being destroyed. I watched, you can see on my Twitter feed, at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrok. Everything you hear on this show, everything I talk about that's pretty smart, I tweet out on my Twitter feed. I also do lives on my Facebook Live, and my Instagram has a lot of great stuff too. Follow me on all three at the same handle, at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrok, at Chris Crock Show. Now, so Biden and Harris speak to Netanyahu today about Israel's retaliation against Iran. It was 30 minutes, according to the administration. They also had a conference call with Jewish American rabbis, talking about they fully support Israel's right to defend itself. However, they are literally trying to tell them what to do. They're trying to tell them to do a ceasefire. They're trying to tell them to limit their attacks on Iran and a ceasefire with Hezbollah and with Hamas, which would be a grave mistake. In fact, one of the best headlines I've read in the past 48 hours on this is this from the Wall Street Journal. U.S. frustrated by Israel's reluctance to share Iran retaliation plans. The Biden administration hopes to avoid a repeat of surprise attacks such as the killing of Hezbollah's leader. These people are sick and stupid. Joe and Kamala are sick and stupid. They literally don't want Israel to end Hamas and end Hezbollah. And they literally, Joe Biden said it again today, that he does not want, directly and boldly, he does not want Israel to hit Iran's nuclear program and destroy its nuclear capabilities. What in God's name is wrong with this man and this woman? Are they stupid? You do not ever want Iran to get a nuclear warhead deliverable on a ballistic missile. They have hypersonic missiles. Do you understand? In 2 weeks, within 1 to 2 weeks, they'll have enough nuclear fissile material to make a nuclear warhead. And then within 6 months or so, they will be able to attach to a ballistic missile, and they will be able to shoot, and they will now be a nuclear country. And at that point, everything's over. That everything is over. You cannot stop it. You cannot threaten it. You cannot put the genital cuffs on it. It will nuke you if it wants to. It is a terrorist organization. It is attacking Israel from 8 different countries on 8 different fronts. That is its only main objective, to kill Jews and to kill Americans and to turn everybody into radical Islamists or kill them or enslave them. That's it. And these fools don't want to take out the nuclear program. They are so stupid and naive and foolish. In the meantime, Joe Biden wants to do a ceasefire with Hamas. Look who's in charge of Hamas now. The only leader alive, Yahya Sinwar. He is a violent megalomaniac, according to the Wall Street Journal. They're quoting it. Violent megalomaniac Sinwar takes Hamas on an even more radical path. And here's just an excerpt of it. After Yahya Sinwar, or the actual name we pronounce is Yahya Sinwar, the man responsible for launching October 7th attacks on Israel, took full control over Hamas over the summer. Arab intelligence officials say he sent a directive to senior operatives in Hamas. Now is the time to revive suicide bombings. A few days later, a bespectacled Palestinian entered Tel Aviv with a blue backpack loaded with explosives. Although the bomb exploded before the man reached his target, killing only him, the attack sent an unmistakable message. Quote, "What a blessing it is that my bones become shrapnel that blow apart the usurping Zionist Jews," the attackers said. Jafar Saeed Muna, a member of Hamas's armed wing, in a video released later by this group. The U.S. designated terrorist organization has long embraced militancy, but Hamas largely discontinued suicide attacks 2 decades ago. They're back under their new leader. At the same time, the spate of them spread terror in Israel's streets, but failed to extract concessions from its government, and some Hamas leaders feared such attacks would make the group a political pariah. Joe wants them to do a ceasefire. What sick bleeps. These stupid, naive fools. You better not give the keys of this country and to the protection of Israel to Kamala. And lastly, I'll share a New York Times with you article or column in a second about this that's pretty good, actually. But first, I want to ask you some questions on this. Do you think Kamala and Joe are right that it's time for a ceasefire with Hamas, Hezbollah, and even Iran? Do you think Israel should listen to Kamala and Joe, or just attack Iran in the way they see fit, including the nuclear program if they see fit? And what should they attack in Iran? What do you think they should attack within Iran? Because they still haven't struck back on the massive ballistic and hypersonic missile attack they launched on Israel, a direct attack of 181 missiles at Iran, at Israel from Iran directly. This is the second direct attack in a year from Iran on Israel. The previous one was 101 ballistic missiles and drones. This time it was 181, including hypersonic, no drones, all ballistic. So that's my question. At 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. Do you think Kamala and Joe are right that it's time for a ceasefire with these terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and even Iran? And do you think Israel should listen to Kamala and Joe, or just keep doing the attacks without telling the U.S. what they're doing, which is what they must do because of who's leading this country, Kamala and Joe? And what should they attack in Iran? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. They still haven't attacked. Joe and Kamala are trying to put the genital cuffs on them before they attack and how they attack. They're not working with them. They're pretending to work with them. They're not. That is Israel. And I want them to attack their nuclear programs and destroy them to the best of their abilities. I want them to follow it up with a hack attack after that. I want them to destroy their oil refineries so they can no longer pump and produce oil, even though Joe Biden has allowed them to go from 300,000 barrels of oil a day under Trump to 1.3 million barrels of oil a day. They've given Iran $80 to $100 billion to kill Jews. And it's unbelievable that Joe and Kamala did it. They financed that attack on our Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel by Hamas. They financed those ballistic missiles that were launched. They financed the terrorist Hezbollah and also the Houthis in Yemen to the south, who our Navy is at the greatest amount of combat. It hasn't seen this level of combat since World War II, according to an admiral of that part of the world in the U.S. Navy. Let me read you this New York Times headline, and then we go to Jim in Iowa, plus your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, 4 lines open. We should want to win Israel, says columnist Bret Stephens in the New York Times today. Those who hope for an independent, free, and peaceful Palestinian state had better hope Israel wins. Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, or his heirs, will continue their well-documented reign of Stasi-like surveillance over those who they rule in Hamas, in Gaza and in the West Bank, not least by brutalizing Palestinians who dare oppose them. And the feeble but authoritarian Palestinian Authority would remain unreformable if Hamas, rather than moderate Palestinian groups, remain its principal political competition. If Israel allows Hamas to remain in power in Gaza, it's never going to give up the West Bank for the sake of Palestinian sovereignty, lest Hamas take over there as well and replicate its strategy of rockets and tunnels on a grander scale. Jim in Iowa, WBAP.
Yeah, my opinion is Biden and maybe Comrade Harris is getting money back from Iran, just like Biden got from all those other countries. So he's going to be on their side. He's a crook.
I know he's a crook, and I know he's gotten tens of millions of dollars and millions of millions of dollars from Hunter, being an illegal foreign lobbyist on behalf of him and his dad for many, many third world countries, including Romania, I think Kazakhstan, and Ukraine, Russia, and others. So I don't think they're on the take from Iran. I just think they're appeasers, and I don't think they understand radical Islam, and they don't understand how to crush it and to end it.
I figure he's getting something out of it, though.
Well, I don't know, but he literally has people that his one of his top diplomats, emissaries with Iran, is now being investigated, was removed, his clearance yanked, and he's being investigated because he and his colleague, who's written many editorials together over the years that are pro-Iran for the Biden administration and from their position, have been caught. They're agents of Iran, basically. That's what they are. And the FBI is investigating them. They lost their clearances. They've been pulled from their jobs, everything. So they have a serious pro-Iran, pro-terrorist problem in this administration. I appreciate your call, Jim. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Kamala handgun, her confiscation of handguns in San Francisco was real. I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to read you some numbers, and you'll hear the exact quotes from how she was trying to take everybody's handguns in San Francisco. That's who she is. While she claims to own one, the thing is, rules for thee, not for me. I own a handgun. You're all going to give them into me, or we're going to take you to jail. That's next at 48 after the hour on Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288 WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Yeah, baby. Thomas Earl Petty playing with his 360 white maple glow Rickenbach. My friend bought the exact one for himself in college days, and I watched him jam out a lot on it. We saw him in concert twice. The late, great Tom Petty. Kamala Harris, this is, she is radically anti-gun, and I'm going to share some highlights from a great column in a great publication called The Reload. Kamala Harris backs San Francisco handgun confiscation measure. In 2005, she supported a ballot measure that banned all residents in San Francisco from possessing pistols, period. Democrat nominee backed Proposition H, is what it was called, Prop H, in her role as the city's DA at the time. It banned San Francisco residents from buying, selling, or even possessing a freaking handgun, which she owns. Not you, though. The exceptions were only for active duty law enforcement, military, and licensed security guards. 58% of her radical liberal San Franciscans voted in favor of it. That's fine. I mean, it's illegal, but that's fine. If you want to be that radical in San Francisco, no one's shocked. That's who she is. But it faced immediate legal scrutiny from the NRA and the California Rifle and Pistol Association and another gun rights group. Their attorney says San Fran was a leader in proposing gun restrictions at the local level. She never met a gun control law she didn't like. Prop H was the crowning jewel. Other prominent gun control advocates said, no, we're not going to support the ban. It was so radical, said the San Jose Mercury News. Although Gavin Newsom did not take a position, several of the city's most liberal leaders are supporting the far-reaching ban, including DA Kamala Harris and 4 supervisors who are listed as sponsors. Dianne Feinstein did not support it at the time she repped that area. Also, it banned all city residents without exception from selling, distributing, transferring, or manufacturing firearms or ammunition. You're screwed. You lose your Second Amendment right. When running for president 4 years ago, Kamala repeatedly backed a mandatory gun buyback of assault weapons, forcing, same thing, taking them all. You're banned from. You can't own them at all. We'll give you money for them, but you surrender them or we take them from you. Last week, a 2007 press conference surfaced of Kamala defending a gun storage measure that followed Prop H by saying law enforcement would enter your locked homes of your lawfully owned guns to inspect your storage setups without your consent. The NRA is running ads this week highlighting this amicus brief, the front of the court brief she signed in the Supreme Court's 2008 Heller case, arguing D.C.'s total handgun ban did not violate the Second Amendment. This woman is wildly anti-gun. She supported a complete total civilian handgun ban. It passed, but the CRPA and NRA sued and won again. Went to the Supreme Court. They invalidated D.C.'s similar handgun ban. California State Appeals Court shut down and ruled Proposition H unlawful. They shut it down. and it bans the possession of handguns by San Francisco residents, including possession within the sanctity of their homes, businesses, and private property. When it comes to regulating firearms, local governments are well advised to tread lightly, said the ruling. San Fran ordered to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to the gun rights plaintiff. It appealed, but ultimately was rebuffed by the Supreme Court of California. They wasted hundreds of thousands of money and tried to take away your guns at the end of a barrel of a gun, and you under the threat of arrest and jailing.